Your Twitter questions take center stage on today's episode of the LockedOn Giants podcast. Coming up next.
You are Locked On Giants, your daily New York Giants podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to a new edition of the Locked On Giants podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast family, your team every day. My name is Patricia Traina, and today, as promised, we are finally going to get to our Twitter mailbag. Also have a few email questions that were sent in, so your questions are going to get answered as best as I can on today's show. Thank you to everybody who sent in questions. I'm looking forward to answering those. Before I jump in on those, though, first, let me tell you about the Locked On Podcast Network's Ultimate Season Preview. It's been running since August 30th, and it runs through September 8th. And it takes you through every team in every division with the help of Odyssey's Ross Tucker and Jason La Canfora. You can follow the Ultimate Season Preview 2021 feed on the Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcasts. Remember, it's running now through September 8th. Check it out. NFC East, I believe, is coming up, so you can hear what I had to say and my fellow NFC East hosts had to say. We had a pretty lively discussion, so it should be a lot of fun. Check it out. All right, folks, we are doing a Twitter mailbag. I almost said Twitter Tuesday. I'm so used to saying Twitter Tuesday. All right. To kick things off, we are going to start with Renato P, who, as usual, sends in multiple questions. Thank you, Renato. This is great. So one question at a time. Is there any player which would be fun if they return to the Giants practice squad, like Wayne Gallman? Well, Wayne Gallman's already, I know this question was sent in before, but he's actually been signed by the Atlanta Falcons. So that rules him out. Is there anybody else that's been cut that I'd like to see brought back? Off the top of my head, I can't think of anybody, Renato. They pretty much have what they need, I think, moving forward. So I can't think of anybody off the top of my head. All right. Then you asked, do you see any Giants players from current and recent past rosters who could end up working as assistant coaches in the NFL or college? Oh, that's a good one. Wow. Let me think about that for a second. I don't know if they would want to do it, but I mean, guys that I think could become really good coaches would be like a Logan Ryan, a Blake Martinez. Let me see who else. Dan Campbell, I know he went over to the Lions. That was a surprise. I never thought Dan was going to be a head coach, but good for him. I always like covering Dan. I know Brandon Jacobs coaches a Pee-wee football team down in Georgia, so I don't know if he would necessarily go to the college ranks. Yeah, I mean, of the current roster, maybe, like I said, Logan Ryan and Blake Martinez, two smart guys. I mean, the Giants have a lot of guys on their roster who could probably be good coaches. Trying to think on the offensive line. Nate Solder probably would make a good coach if he wanted to, devote the time to it. I think Nick Gates could. I mean, any number of guys. Sterling Shepard probably. It's just a matter of, do they want to devote the time? Because, coaching at the college ranks and higher, a lot of hours are necessary. And some guys just don't want to put that kind of time in, which I don't blame them. If you've got a young family or you've got other interests you want to pursue, I can see them, not going in that direction. All right. And then your final question to me is, any plans on doing live videos on the YouTube channel? I thought about it. I'm thinking about it. I'm a little reluctant to do a live broadcast because my luck, I'll get some wise guy who will pop in and do something stupid. So I think for my own safety, I'm probably better off recording and then uploading live. Though if I ever have a show where maybe I have a guest and I can do something like that, then then I can do something live that way. But if you're talking about like a mailbag type of thing, or even a listener call-in type of show, which I'm also looking into, I would probably want to record that so that if somebody does slip through and decides to be a wiseacre, I can zap them out. Nobody would know. So thanks for the questions, Renato. Always great to hear from you. Hope you are well. All right, let us go on now to the Twitter questions. And we have a few here. First up, we have, actually, I think I missed this one last time. So let me get this in. This is from Chappie Schism. Okay, Chappie Schism asked me, and this again, I missed this question last time, so I apologize. Do you think ACL injuries in football are compatible to Tommy John surgery in baseball? Baseball pitchers will commonly have the surgery and return in as good as new in a year and a half. The ACL doesn't seem like quite as sure a thing. Both are common. Chappie, I got to be honest with you. I'm not familiar with what Tommy John surgery entails. I know more about the ACL surgery, having had family members that have gone through it. So I'm going to take your word for it regarding how long it could take a pitcher to come back. All I'll say is this, is any type of surgery. I am a firm believer that once a person has surgery, they are never, ever the same. Now, sometimes you're better, sometimes you're not better. I've had surgery in the past, and I can tell you physically, I am not the same that I was before the surgery. Not necessarily a bad thing, but definitely there is a change in how my body functions. My husband has had knee surgery, and is he better? Well, he can walk and he can do all the things he needs to do, but can he run like he used to? No. Can he jump like he used to? No. So I think it depends on the person. And I think it also depends on when you have the surgery. How old are you? If you're in your 20s, you'll probably bounce back a lot quicker than if you're in your 50s. So that would be my guess. And again, I haven't finished my medical degree yet, so I'm just guessing here. So, all right, let's get to some of these other questions. We have one from Guacamoto. Will Jason Garrett leverage Kadarius Toney's quarterback skills, i.e. the Wildcat, or will Garrett run his boring mid-90s offense? I think we will probably see a little bit more creativity. Now, will we see Kadarius Toney chuck the ball a couple times here and there? I wouldn't be surprised. I would not surprise me. I mean, look, the Giants are of the opinion that if a guy has a certain skill set, why not take advantage of it? So I could definitely see them, having a play like that. The Giants are of the opinion if a guy has a specific skill set, why not take advantage of it? So yeah, I could definitely see a little razzle dazzle here. I don't know if it will see, a lot of fancy stuff, but certainly I think we'll see some of it. So, hey, Giant fans, we have much more coming up on the LockedOn Giants podcast. But first, let me tell you about Built Bar. Built Bar is a healthy, low sugar, low carb, and high protein treat that will satisfy your sweet tooth. Choose from 9 amazing flavors, plus the occasional limited time offering available in nut and nut-free variety. Visit BuiltBar.com and get 15% off your first order with the promo code LOCKED15. That's LOCKED15 for 15% off your first order at BuiltBar.com. All right. Next question comes from Big Pasty Guy. What about now? Is the OLine fixed now? Do you think the OLine's fixed now? I don't. Injuries, the 2 retirements. I mean, the Giants had to go out and they had to trade for 2 offensive linemen to replace the 2 guys that retired. Shea Lemieux is dealing with reportedly with a partially torn patella tendon. All right, that concerns me. It also concerns me that Matt Peart and Andrew Thomas have struggled in preseason action. So is this offensive line fixed? I don't think it is. I mean, show me and prove otherwise that it is. And then I'll be a believer. But, like I said to you before, when we were kind of covering this, up until the start of training camp, when we actually got our eyes on the unit, we pretty much had to take the word of the coaches and the front office because they were seeing these guys every day in the springtime. We weren't here in the media. Once we saw them in preseason and training camp, then you saw the peaks and the valleys. One day they looked good, then a couple days they didn't. And no, that unit to me, still a work in progress. And I'd be lying if I said I wasn't a little bit concerned about where they are right now. So hopefully my concerns are on, are fleeting and that unit does pull it together. We will see. All right. This next one comes from PJ Maz 813. I tweeted this to you after the Pats game. I know you like Ingram, but here we go again with injuries and questionable play. At what point do you pull the plug on him? It's going to be this year, actually. The Giants are locked in. He's on the roster, so obviously the salary is guaranteed. If this kid doesn't get it together, he's not going to be back on this roster next year. I don't care how talented he is. I don't care how good of a kid he is in the locker room. I don't care how hard he works. The best ability is availability. And, Evan worked his tail off in the offseason. I know that for a fact. He had a fairly good summer, but you're right. Injuries are a problem with him. And you would have liked to have thought that last year when he made it through an entire season that he was going to be okay, maybe put the injury bug behind him. But you're right. Here we go again. And the Giants just can't continue to bring this kid along. If he doesn't get out there, if he doesn't produce, if they can't optimize his talent, or he has a case of the dropsies again, he won't be here next year. I can pretty much guarantee you that. So, all right, up next, we have Greg Pear 1. Any chance Gallman comes back? As I mentioned before, Greg, Gallman was cut by the 49ers and he signed with the Falcons. So right now he's not available. So we'll see if he becomes available and if the Giants go in that direction. My guess is they won't, because look, the whole reason why they didn't re-sign Gallman is because both sides kind of felt that they needed a fresh start from one another. So I don't think that we are going to see Wayne Gallman back. Just my guess, regardless if he shakes free or not. But hey, never say never, right? All right, continuing on with your questions, we have one from Pogmore Super Soul, who wants to know, Pro Bowler HaHa Clinton Dix is currently available after a year of no football. Should the Giants sign him, and do you think they'll be able to afford him? Why would you want to sign another safety? I mean, you're pretty stacked there right now if you're the Giants with Logan Ryan and Xavier McKinney and Jabril Peppers and Julian Love. So I'm not sure why you would want to sign another guy unless you have an injury. And even then, I don't know if I would go with Clinton Dix if he is still available. And I apologize. I didn't check before I answered this question. I don't know. Maybe he signed with somebody else. I don't know. But you've got 4 safeties right now that are healthy. You also have some cornerbacks who can, play that safety role if you need them to. So, no. Hey, Giant fans, we have more coming up here on the LockedOn Giants podcast. But first, get all the latest news, odds, info, and sign-up bonuses for all your sporting needs by heading over to betonline.ag on your laptop or mobile device. When you open an account and use our special promo code LOCKEDON, you will receive a 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Again, that's code LOCKEDON for your 50% welcome bonus. Terms and conditions apply. BetOnline, your online sportsbook experts. All right, what else do we have here? Empire PR Man wants to know who will be the starting left guard against Denver. If Hernandez, who will start at right guard? Ruben Hernandez will be at right guard, I would think. Now, the left guard, I'd like to say it's going to be Lemieux, but I don't have a good feeling about that. I know they, as I record this, they have about 10 days to get him ready. I don't have a good feeling about him being out there as a starter. So my guess would be that they move Nick Gates to guard. Nick has been getting a lot of snaps at guard. think he's been working at, actually, let me take this back for a second. I'm trying to remember. Was Gates working at right guard? I think, you know what? I think Gates was working at right guard. So, okay, yeah. Yeah, now I got it right. Gates was doing some snaps at right guard during the summer. So if that's the case and Lemieux was not ready to go, then yes, Will Hernandez would go back to left guard and Gates would probably go to right guard. And I would think one of those offensive linemen that they traded for, either Billy Price or Ben Bredesen, one of them would be plugged in at center. That would be my guess. So yeah, I don't right now. I don't have a warm and fuzzy feeling about Lemieux being ready. I hope I'm wrong, but given that injury, if it's a partially torn patella tendon, I know there's a way to manage that, but and I know the Giants offensive linemen, they wear those knee braces, but I just think it's risky. And, considering that the Giants have been so careful with these guys that have been injured or coming off of injuries, I can't see them rushing Lemieux back onto the field, to be honest with you. So just my guess there. All right. Up next, we have a question, another offensive line question from Bastromovic. And Bastromovic wants to know, let's see, I am all about the O-line all day and every day. How are we just now putting something in place that is so freaking essential to whether the quarterback is for real? Okay, I assume you're talking about the offensive line shakeups and the rotation. Looks like Nate Solder might be playing some more right tackle snaps than we initially thought. I don't get it either. I got to be honest with you. I've always been of the thought that with an offensive line, the more reps you give that unit, the better. And you want to establish continuity. Now, I know obviously the injury to Shane Lemieux prevented them from having continuity. But yeah, I share your concern here because it's like, Nate Solder might end up being the starting right tackle. We don't know that for sure, but that's the direction I think it's headed. There's a possibility that Nick Gates might get kicked out to guard, depending on what's going on with Shane Lemieux, like I mentioned before. So that scares me, and then you throw in, the struggles of Andrew Thomas in that preseason game. I'm sorry, I don't have a warm and fuzzy feeling about the offensive line. Please, guys, if you're listening to the show or watching the show, prove me wrong. I'm happy to admit when I'm wrong, but right now, I got to admit my faith is shaken in this unit. So, and I'm sure I'm not the only person who feels that way. So, fingers crossed for the best, because look, if Daniel Jones doesn't have time to throw, if the running backs don't have holes to run through, God help us all. It's going to be a long season. All right, Giant fans, before we say goodbye, let me tell you about Locked On Bets podcast. Betting on the NFL doesn't have to be a guessing game. If you listen to the new Locked On Bets podcast, hosted by your boy Q and handicapping expert Lee Sterling, get daily picks, blowout specials, wrong team favorite picks, and Lee Sterling's lock of the day. Follow the Locked On Bets podcast, brought to you by betonline.ag, wherever you get your podcasts. All right, folks, that's going to do it for me for this week. Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning into the Locked On Giants podcast. We had a great week on YouTube. Really a lot of good feedback. I appreciate all the comments, suggestions. And hey, we even got a little message board going on over there with all the comments that you guys are posting. And I'm trying to keep up with them and answer them as they come in. So if you're listening to this show on just the audio, check out the YouTube podcast, the YouTube page. And don't forget to subscribe and like the channel, because if I get to 1,000, like I said, I get the lollipop from the Locked On Network. And we will be back next week with all new shows. Got some great stuff on the horizon for you guys. Hope you will check it out.